fire, fire, fire.
All right, chat. Why Colombian Latinas are killing lonely men for profit? Oh, I'd let her kill me. Oh, she's so hot.
A 28-year-old software developer from Atlanta wakes up alone in a hotel room 1,975 miles from home. The room is just completely trashed and he has no memory of the night before. Scrambling for a phone that is no longer there, he notices empty bottles on the nightstand, sheets pulled off the bed, and panic starts to set in.
Did she take his kidneys? You ever hear those horror stories of people getting drugged and then they get their kidneys?
Swipes the clothes on the floor to check for his wallet, his bag, even his expensive work watch, all gone. The more his eyes dart across the room looking around, the more painful his headache becomes. This wasn't a normal hangover.
They took his brain!
There's a metal taste in his mouth and his stomach is starting to cramp. Marcus can hardly think straight and just wants to go home. But at least my passport is still secure, he thinks. But then he sees it. The door of the hotel safe, wide open and empty. Anxiety turns to dread. They took everything. But just a few days ago, everything was fine. So what happened? His memory was blank besides the faintest hint of perfume and cigarette smoke. He closed his eyes and could hear the echo of clicking high heels on a marble floor. A woman's voice speaking rapid Spanish down the phone. And then from that, a word sounded through the pain in his head. It was a name, Camila.
No, not Camille!
A week ago, Marcus sat in his apartment staring at his phone in total silence. He'd been messaging an American woman
She would not take your
weeks.
heart.
It felt like real conversations, not just small talk. She'd actually engaged with his story. She asked about his work and seemed genuinely interested in him. For the first time in months, he felt like me.
Lesson learned. If a woman shows interest in you, she's gonna take your balls.
Maybe he was getting somewhere. Like maybe he'd finally broken through that invisible wall that seemed to exist between him and the opposite gender. After a couple of beers, he asked. A simple dinner invitation, nothing pushy. She read this message, and then there was no reply. A typical thing for him. Typical. He just had that feeling again that he couldn't shake. This woman was another in a sequence of rejection. His heart grew colder and his perspective dimmer and darker. Later that night, he found himself in a familiar territory. He'd been searching Medellin for months, partly because he'd heard good things from people he knew, but also because of the content that had been piped into his feed. Non-stop videos of these guys filming themselves on GoPros, partying with beautiful women in exotic places.
Latinas.
Where you could just be with a beautiful, wholesome woman, drinking cheap beers on an exotic beach, speaking some broken Spanish, and really just enjoying life. And all it seemed to take was a plane flight. Marcus understood that he was in a vulnerable state, but he just couldn't stop himself. How could you? How could you even resist the temptation of this? He'd started off just watching simple dating content or discussions on how romance in the Western world had changed. But after getting recommended content showing how—
even though a lot of this is bait, this is bait, and it obviously is to make money off of you and to coax you into spending money, I do think it's valid to say that Western dating has been kind of cooked for a long time. It's also dipped into non-Western dating. I've heard horror stories from Russian people saying this.
How much different dating abroad was, and the seemingly infinite upside you get as a young American bachelor with some cash. He grew more and more desperate, and now he just needed one little push. Maybe it was that last chat he had with the woman, or perhaps the powerful influences telling him how Western women take everything from men and give nothing back. He found his thoughts changing. Earlier that very same day, he found himself snapping at another bland girl, spilling coffee in his arm. The same as all the rest, useless now to get him. He didn't know what was happening to his mind, but he felt profanities echo around it in women's presence. Sinking another drink, his finger hovered over the confirm button for his flight, and he clicked.
Oh no!
In just a few hours, he lands in Medellin. The heat slaps him in the face and he knows he's somewhere completely different. And he wasn't the only one. There are about 8 to 9 single men also with him from America in queue near him, all likely going for the same reason. But he did know that over 1 million people visit this popular Colombian city every year. It's a tourist hotspot. He'd read about the—
my brother dated a Colombian woman and she was insanely hot, but also freaking crazy. I'm not even kidding. She was really, really nice, but the more he got to know her, she got like more and more crazy. I don't know, man. Remember you telling us about her? Yeah. She got jealous of you? No. This was a different one. That was a white girl. No. The Colombian was really, really nice to me. I'm his sister, right? Like, obviously, like, it's fine. Like, they have to be nerfed somehow. It's either you're insanely hot or you're insanely crazy or both.
World-class museums, the vibrant nightlife, and the stunning architecture. The weather was perfect all year round, the food's exceptional, there's amazing coffee, and everything costs a fraction of what you'd pay back home. But if we're being real, that wasn't the top of his mind right now. Marcus had more romantic plans. Romance tourism to cities like Medellin is a movement that spans continents and crosses borders. It's an entire industry of people foregoing relationships at home to take on something bolder and more fruitful abroad. Some actively embrace terms like passport bros, pushed by influencers with massive followings who've turned this lifestyle into a business.
Yeah, again, I don't think there's anything wrong with going to another country and finding a woman that actually really likes you. I think passport bro is it's an accurate term, but I don't think everyone who goes to another country is a passport bro. Passport bros, mail order brides will be the next term to say the same thing. I think mail order brides are different from being a passport bro, no? And no, just to clarify, no, the Colombian girl was not the one that was jealous of me as the sister. That was a different chick. That was before that. The Colombian woman really, really, really wanted to marry my brother when he was like, I don't know, I want to say like 22 or 23, because she wanted to get her family into the country faster.
Passport Bro subreddit has grown to over 80,000 members in just a few years, creating an international network where countries are ranked on maps and experiences shared for how great they are for men like Marcus. While Colombia has dominated the headlines, a few countries rank at the top of the best locations for passport bros, from Thailand to Vietnam to the Philippines and Brazil and even Eastern Europe. Some men actually go to this community and showcase their success to get advice or actually provide some value to other men looking to do the same thing, but not everyone is lucky. And then there's the opportunists, making a commodity out of hundreds of people like Marcus and turning romance tourism into an industry that serves them, and not the vulnerable men.
This can also lead to exploitation for obvious reasons, but at the same time, like, yeah, Vietnam is really bad about it. I've heard horror stories.
Purport to care about. What Marcus didn't realize was that his arrival was predictable and hadn't gone unnoticed by those who'd learned to profit from young, vulnerable men. The digital pipeline that had delivered him here was just one side of an equation he didn't yet understand. But the course was set. One of the first things he did when he gets to Medellin was download Tinder. And suddenly like that, he was starting to get all these matches. Matches with women he could never get back at home. And this is when he matched with a beautiful...
Because they see you as prey. Imagine trying to filter one out that doesn't want you for your money. That would suck. Having to do that for all day, every day, going on multiple dates. Wait, that actually doesn't sound too bad, huh?
Looking woman named Camila on Tinder, and she suggested meeting at Hotel Dan Carlton. She mentioned this had the best view in El Poblado, the main place for expats in Medellin, adding,
wait, that's really pretty!
Love it. But unbeknownst to Marcus, that one simple message would change everything.
She's a nice
Camila
girl.
watched Marcus's face light up when he saw her. He was nervous and couldn't believe how attractive she was. But for Camila, this was just another tourist, another rooftop bar, and another performance. She was just 24, but she'd been doing this for at least 2 years now. She studied nursing during the day, that part was always true when she told them. But in the evening, she worked a different kind of shift. She wasn't necessarily a prostitute, at least not exactly.
An escort. That's how people get away with that term. I know a girl in college who labeled herself an escort, and I'm like, but you have sex with men, and she's like, yeah, sometimes, not all the time. And I'm like, so you're not just like, isn't that just another word for prostitute? She's like, no, I'm an escort. And I'm like, okay. Like, I didn't judge her, but like I was like, okay.
She told herself that distinction mattered. She was more like a tour guide. Camila put Marcus at ease, told him how excited she...
So she's a hoe? No, she got paid. Yeah, I think that's a little bit different.
Was to show him her city, and it wasn't entirely fake. He seemed kind, courteous, genuinely interested in what she had to say, and after a few drinks she could see his confidence returning. In another life, maybe this could have all been real. But tonight was different for Camila. She never lets those thoughts get to her for too long, as she's been discussing a new technique with her friends the night before, something industrially efficient. Her friend Isabella had been using this for months. She'd shown Camila the small vial of white powder, explaining how just a tiny amount could render a man
Do not trust anyone with a random white powder. I think I watched a Vice documentary on a flower powder that knocks you out. I think it's the same thing, isn't it? And it lives in Colombia. Yeah, the Colombian flower that can make you pass out for like 3 days.
completely compliant. With that, you can kill 10 people, but it's better in powder form. You rub it on their chest, Isabella explained. The substance came from the bola.
This is it. Yep, this is it. I watched a Vice thing on it. It's very fascinating.
Cello tree, drunken binge that grew wild throughout Colombia. It produces beautiful white bell-shaped flowers that hang
pretty,
like lamps.
yeah.
In the West, it's better known as Datura or the Angel's Trumpet. But Camila
Angel's
knew it by its street
Trumpet.
name, Devil's Breath. Most call it scopolamine. It's tasteless, odorless, and you can hide it on a business card and just blow it in someone's face. And the results of this can be described as zombification. Within minutes, victims enter a state of zombie-like compliance. They'll hand over their valuables willingly, follow instructions without question, even withdrawing their money from ATMs with their captors standing right beside them. 50
Isn't that terrifying, bro?
milligrams of it can kill you,
What?
but deaths are pretty rare. Victims usually just stay compliant longer. Some reports still feeling the effects of the high for 15
Yeah. This is the one I watched, yeah.
days.
Duré 17 días viajando con otro
I tripped for 17 days straight with a friend of mine.
parcero. Mi parcero se quedó en el viaje. El
My
man hoy en
friend
día anda así
stayed
en
on
la
the
calle.
trip.
When
He
victims
still
do
walks
eventually
around like
wake up,
this.
sometimes 24 hours later, they remember absolutely nothing. It literally blocks the neurotransmitters in the brain responsible for recording memory. The US State Department
Wow.
reports unofficial estimates of 50,000
It's like Rohypnol. Wow,
scopolamine
dude.
incidences per year in Colombia, more than 130 every single day. According to the National Police, a scopolamine attack occurs every 10 hours in Bogota.
So people are just abusing it, dude. Yeah, and nobody's doing anything about it because you can't track it. It's a odorless, white powder that looks like cocaine.
With police admitting the vast majority of incidences are men poisoned by women from small street gangs called micro cartels. Camila studied Marcus across the
holy.
table as he talked about his work, his hopes for the trip, but he just had no idea what was coming, or that there was an entire industry preying on people like him. Was this coldly calculated? At this point, yes. She felt glimpses.
It's probably really easy to process as well if I'm really thinking about it. If it's growing in Colombia, like out on the streets and parks, it's probably not that difficult to process.
To something else, pity,
Into a powder,
maybe even
I
guilt,
mean.
but once again, she knew how to dull those doubts. After all, she hadn't planned for her life to turn out this way, and Marcus had come here looking for exactly this, right? Two different paths at the same table, and she wasn't really caring about what he was saying, it was just time to move. So she excused herself to the bathroom, did the end of a cigarette into the powder, then returned with a smile. When I step outside for some air, 15 minutes passed and she watched the change happen exactly as Isabella had described. Marcus looked up at her, confused for half a second, then with that glazed expression she'd been told to expect. "Let's go somewhere quieter," she said. He nodded like a child and just followed her. Now by this point, Marcus clearly found himself in an extremely dangerous position as they got
Dude, the scariest thing, so like how anesthesiologists knock you out, you don't register anything happening because your brain is basically shut off and you don't remember anything. It knocks out your brain. But here, they're moving around and nodding and putting in like numbers to punch in into the ATMs and like responding. It's scary.
the cab. He was sucked in, and you could
What
even say
the
lured in
frick?
by a powerful travel industry built around dating abroad. But behind the soft
Yeah, you're, like,
lighting, the palm trees,
hypnotized,
and the smiling
essentially.
local women and influencer videos is a huge growing business, one that turns male loneliness into views, subscriptions, and paid coaching funnels. Romance tourism has always been
What
popular,
the
but love is
frick?
one of the most easily corrupted emotions, one of the main things you can manipulate men with, and it's manifested itself as an industry of mixed and often dark intent. Women abroad like Camila are depicted as respectful to men in a way that those at home aren't. They're receptive. But some just depict them as just easy to pick up. Some have actually been accused of using the same women in their videos or paying them to join as a part of their marketing game. The same influencers who claim women in other countries respect men more are often the same ones who are seen with multiple women on each arm. They're picking up women in the street, showing how easy it is to hook up.
And again, this is from one person who has more economic and social power than the other. Like, they see a rich American tourist or someone who makes more money economically speaking than them, and they say, okay, well, we gotta go and, you know, try and swindle and scam all their money. It sucks. It is what it is. It's a freaking tourism thing, the romance tourism.
They just make you look so effortless. If you have a Western passport, you'll get the hottest women. You just stop them in the street, chat to them, and that's all you need to do. Even just doing this in English, not speaking their native language. Just be confident and it will all fall into place. Oh, and maybe pick up their course for $1,000 a month just to be sure you get all of their tips. The dangers of this just can't be ignored.
People pay for this shit? With potential matches and fellow daters who are navigating similar issues, the investment. Special Netflix pricing, $2,800? Bro, I need to start doing this, man. What the hell am I doing streaming? What?
Tips. The dangers of this just can't be ignored. Many warn followers to take a picture of a girl's ID before bringing them home. Some joke about getting scoped, drugged, and robbed, like it was just part of the adventure. For some, it's part of the thrill. You'd think people like Camila would be more aware of these stories than Marcus, but the influencers tout these stories as if they were some funny holiday event.
They're laughing, but it's like, do you know how freaky that is? Like, thinking about how your meat suit just did all that without your brain registering, it was like actually disconnected. Like, imagine you're at your computer and then suddenly, like, your computer shuts off, but then someone is, like, controlling it without you being able to do anything.
Like Marcus never actually come home. People in Marcus's position, following the advice of men who apparently care about their love lives, have suffered horrible endings while in their pursuits of respectful women. Take the tragic story of Paul Nguyen, a 27-year-old logistics consultant from California who didn't return to his Airbnb after going on a Tinder date in 2022.
Oh, no.
He'd taken a Snapchat photo of his date, a slim brown-haired woman in a white jacket. The next morning, he didn't return to the Airbnb and his friends raised an alarm. It turned out that his credit card was used multiple times in odd late-night transactions. 12 hours later, his body was then discovered behind a trash bin 5 miles away from the bar.
The family of a young man from Orange County is struggling with their grief and at the same time trying to find out how and why he was killed while on vacation in Colombia.
Then there was Tao Xiong, a 50-year-old
They probably gave him too much, his heart caved out. Yeah.
Minnesota comedian who called his family in December 2023
so sad,
saying
dude.
he needed $2,000 because he'd been kidnapped. The family then sent the money through PayPal immediately, but it wasn't enough. The next morning, his body was found at the bottom of a ravine near the Robledo district. He'd been tied, tortured, stabbed, and then thrown 260 feet down a cliff.
Nobody deserves that. That's awful.
Other
What the
survivors
frick,
described the
dude?
same pattern. A 28-year-old businessman, also a victim of scopolamine in Colombia, told reporters, quote, "I matched with a girl on Tinder. Just another girl, I thought, just another date. She took my iPad, my phone, my wallet, my credit cards, my ID, everything but my laptop." And if you're shocked by these two men dying in the pursuit of pleasure, it's more common than you might think. And
It's
this
not their
issue
fault.
may lay
The cartel has such a like strong grip over Colombia and several other countries that, like, what are you gonna do? Like, you're a girl and say you get you're born in Bogota or whatever it's called, the capital. You have no money, no education. The mafia / cartel controls everything, even the schools, all the businesses that you could possibly work at. And they say, you're a pretty young girl, you have to start doing this. Like, what are you gonna do? Now it's fucked up either way.
a lot closer to home than imagined. Porn addiction will mentally kill you long before you reach the same fate as these guys. Quitter is on a mission to take over the industry, help men regain control of their lives, and finally break free from this evil habit. With their in-app 28-day challenge, 500,000 men have
28
already
days of
seen
no
incredible
gooning?
changes in their lives.
Wait, hold on. Are you allowed to goon to no porn? 28 days. No. Can you goon without corn? You're allowed, right? Goon to ankles? No!
Increased discipline, improvement in ED, and confidence in themselves and in talking to women. Quitting porn doesn't have to be difficult, and with Quitter's cutting-edge app, 28 days is all it
to your
takes to enjoy the
imagination.
physical
That's
and
powerful.
mental benefits. Now you might be thinking, how do I know if I need help? Well, with Quitter's free porn addiction quiz, you can see how your habits compare to the 500,000 men that they have helped overcome their addiction forever. All you have to do is click the link in the
women?
description and download
What about women? There's women gooners.
the app and begin the test. Today is the day
Today,
you'll stop saying I'll quit
amateur.
tomorrow and regain control before it's too late. Like others before him, Marcus had been sold the dream of finding true love and
Women.
delivered
Disgusting.
as prey. Now, as he was led out of the cab and to his hotel room by Camila, he found himself at the mercy of forces above what he didn't foresee. You see, Camila had actually tried OnlyFans as an escape route when she was younger, but this was way more effective. She was so close to finishing her nursing degree, but without tuition money, she'd have to drop out. Like so many countries targeted by romance tourists, most of the Colombian population is below the poverty line. Not many weeks ago, she created her first dating profile and joined a different kind of pipeline, a network of women targeting gringos. Not always Americans, but any foreigner with hard currency, who was naive enough to really believe they'd found true love. So here's what's really happening while you're watching these glossy, perfect
those
influencer
dang white
videos showing
boys.
Colombia and other dangerous countries in a similar way. Local networks are working and studying these men who deliver these dreams. They want you
And you know there's probably TikTok propaganda that the mafia cartel, whatever, they create these like ads and they go viral with these hot chicks and then they're like, come to Colombia. Yeah, meet hot women in your area. They're farming, dude. They're spawn camping these lonely poor guys who want to just find some love.
to believe in an image so that they can milk you. The system for exploiting men on the ground in places like Colombia has evolved around the same time as the male loneliness epidemic, the one that these influencers get paid from. While online opportunities cultivated men like Marcus for months, local networks had learned to position themselves at the end of that pipeline, ready to extract their own value. In Colombia, some women work alone, others with gangs.
Yeah.
Journalists in Medellin have even uncovered gang bosses like the so-called Queen of Scopolamine, a serial killer who killed between 5 to 6 men, although according to her court testimony there were a considerable amount of others. Now of course, Colombian authorities are aware of this problem.
Don't say I can fix her, chat. I will ban you.
But they're overwhelmed.
can't,
In a
she's
city with more than
crazy.
25,000 reported robberies annually, only a fraction ever lead to arrests. And most of the time, nobody's talking to the police, they're completely corrupt. But that's not the point. Why are these men coming here in the first place? What is pushing them here? Is dating that bad in the
Loneliness.
West now that we need to find other poor countries where we can
Yeah.
finally feel validated and actually find true love?
Yeah.
What this shows is what's lacking in men today in the West, that they feel so compelled to go to dangerous countries like these to find love, all because the people they interact with in their own countries seems to always reject them, or just
Do you guys have some sort of anecdotal story of one of your like relatives, like an old uncle, who's not even like of our age at all, who found like a Vietnamese or like a Thai woman, and then they like, you know, they got divorced and then later got married? I've heard of those stories. Not me personally, like in my family, but I've heard them before. My stepmom is from Suriname. Oh shit, man. Yeah, it's quite a common story. I think this started happening like even before.
be people they can't have any real connection with. Because this isn't just happening in Medellin, but it's also now starting to happen in many other cities around the world, targeting these Western tourists, from Manila to Bangkok. So cracking down too hard on the very image of warm hospitality is a complicated business. Even Camila, who's stuck in this web just like Marcus, as
Poor
she's had to grow up in a
Camilla.
country ravaged by drug cartels and obviously in a third world bad situation. She realized she would make a year's wage in a night if she performed the fantasy people like Marcus had built
Wow.
before stepping off the plane. And of course,
Wouldn't you get tempted? Like again, like morals aside, a year's wage in a night. It sucks, man.
Of course, it's just business for these people, executing a usual strategy, walking Marcus to numerous ATMs to get money out for what she told him repeatedly.
No, you... shit. If, like, you guys live probably in a nice house in comparison to these people. It sucks, man. Yeah, I couldn't do that to someone. I don't know, man. It sucks. I don't know how I'd feel in that position, but it's just like, would you rather starve? I don't know, man. Some people do worse things when they're in position of starvation.
Was more drinks, walking back to his hotel room, plastering him with more drinks to keep him compliant, and she systematically ransacked his room. She then coerced him into opening his safe to access his passport and rummaged through his belongings for anything with any semblance of resale value, while Marcus spent most of the time slurring and flopping around on the floor between being sick. Then, after locking him away helplessly in a wrecked room, she left to pay some of her bosses, as you can't do many of these things without others noticing and demanding their cut. But the fact that this is even an industry in the first place is really an indictment to how bad dating must be in the West. If people are going to obviously dangerous countries to do this sort of thing, and it's so common that there's now an entire criminal economy around this stuff, shows there must be some issue at home if so many guys are falling into this trap.
Yeah.
The modern dating crisis and the growing loneliness epidemic are quietly leading to more and more of these cases. Faced with rejection, social isolation, and a collapsing sense of purpose in the West, many men are just fleeing to these countries where dating feels more traditional, connection more accessible, and finally gaining a sense of love, spurred on by influencers creating.
I'm a passport bro who travels the world to date foreign women. I hope to settle down one day, but for now I love exploring the world. The problem is that you're advertising like there's nothing wrong and there's no risks to it. Yeah, that's the biggest issue.
This echo chamber and this illusion that it's just impossible to find love in the West anymore. And in doing so, this is creating a global issue that's only getting so much worse. In Brazil, the US consulate in Rio recently issued a warning about drugging dating scams targeting tourists. Criminals seduce foreign men, slip sedatives into their drinks, then lose them and rob them in hotel rooms. We also see this in Bangkok and Bali, the same devil breath style scams, where victims are stumbling around like zombies, being completely controlled, their cards maxed out, and sometimes even overdose deaths. Medellin is just the most visible example, with 8 Americans vanished at once in late 2023, bringing the total to 29 deaths in recent years.
And nothing, 8 of them disappeared and no one had an answer?
It's so bad that even Tinder now has to place warnings on the app.
Bad.
On Facebook.
Wait, what? Spot a crypto scam or get rich quick scheme. Someone promises a big cash out since to group sure. Is it a romance scam? Be mindful of someone trying to play on your emotions and claim that desperately need money. It's okay to say no and report it to us. Get to know them and real for them first. Pause before sharing too much information and meeting a match right away. Oh my god, dude. You land in Colombia and then they detected, they're like, okay, you're in Colombia, maybe be careful?
Warnings on the app. On Facebook, we can see a private scopolamine victims group that has more than 5,000 members sharing stories and lookouts. Thousands more are warning about this on the Passport Bros Reddit itself. And while most survive, living with this kind of experience would be difficult for anyone, especially those most lonely and unloved. And now, staring at the ceiling of his own flat rather than a hotel room, Marcus is learning the hardest lesson of all. Sometimes when you think you're the customer, you're actually the product just being sold.
True. Nothing's free, bro. If it ain't paid, you gotta watch ads. If there's no ads, they're stealing your personal information. I wanna blow some white powder on your face, and also let's go to the park and hold hands. I'm gonna stay inside, thanks. Yeah, this is why I never go outside.
Fire, fire,